Did you guys get a copy of the minutes list?
It's like, bye now.
But they listed the top 10 primary schools and they showed which ones had rivalries, a couple of white girls. We didn't even feature.
We had fun to see you on Thursday.
It was nice to see you.
Yes.
You know, you had your walking shoes on and everything.
Yes, abandoned by my children. They were not interested in going anywhere near me.
I always find those type of events, walking in stilettos, just tiring, and you know.
Well, you know what, but if you would wear them to such an event,
I'd
we
love
would be very happy to see that.
That looked pretty good.
All right.
Have you seen Kinky Boots?
I have, actually, I saw it, I think it was at Sundance that I saw it, years ago.
The man who that movie is about actually owns the house at the end of the street that I grew up on.
Really?
Yeah. So, the opening shot of the church in town, my father put electricity in that church in 1946.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right,
Anyway,
this one, no one here.
so no, you know, it's probably so far down the agenda. You know.
I had the jacket and I thought, no, I better take some.
One more layer. Yep.
Are we missing somebody?
On the 5th. I hope she gets here before her discussion.
What's her discussion?
I think we're ready. On the 8th.
What?
The residential, restricted the buses on residential.
That's a discussion item.
Yeah, I know, but that was her discussion. And she would be here
Oh,
to
yeah, me
introduce.
All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. First item on our agenda is approval of minutes from June 24. Could I have, all right, thank you. Any comments or discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Next item is the payroll through June 16, $2,757,255.18. Okay, all right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? City bills, did everybody get to read the responses for the city bills? Any questions or comments? No? No? Okay. All those in favor of approving the city bills? Let's have a motion to approve the city bills.
Second.
Okay, it's in the amount of $3,894,114.74. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is credit card activity through May 31, $125,260.65.
Move approval.
Any comments? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. First purchase is approval of a contract with Kenny Construction for the large diameter sewer rehab in the amount of $1,388,290.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? We have approval of a contract with SAK Construction for the cured-in-place pipelining Contract B for 2013 in the amount of $179,887.70. Any discussion? Can somebody from Director, could you tell us about this company a little? The first thing I noticed is that I'd never heard of them. And-
I'm going to ask utilities to start.
Okay, utilities? Oh, okay, right, utilities.
Madam Alderman, Committee, my name is Laura Biggs. I'm with the Utilities Department, Superintendent of Construction. And SAK Construction has been pre-qualified for several years, but this is the Contract A, which was started earlier this summer, is the first contract that they've worked on in the city of Evanston. And they've really been doing a very good job. When we checked their references, they had said how responsive of a company they are, and they have been really good. Today there was an issue, or last week, with St. Francis Hospital, and they were very proactive about trying to work it out. So we've been really pleased with them.
Okay, great. That's all we want to know. All right, thank you. All those in favor of recommending them to the council, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next, approval of single-source purchase rate of flow transmitters and manifolds from Rosemont for the water treatment plant in the amount of $57,386.07. All right, and we should mention to the public that the reason this is a single source is so that all of our transmitters and our rate of flow transmitters and manifolds are the same brand from the same species, and so it makes more sense. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next is approval of an agreement with Conley's Academy for Martial Arts Instruction at the Levy Center. Okay. This all has to do with fees, and so it's, we make money on this. All those in favor say aye. That's all we want, make money. Any opposed? Next is contract with A-Lamp Concrete Contractors for the 2013 CIP 3 Street Resurfacing Project. This is in the amount of, let's see, how much is this? No, it's more. How much?
968.
Okay, all right, 968,396, I'm sorry, you're right. Any comments on this? I just want A-Lamp to know that I'll be watching them like a hawk, because I've had problems with them before. Yes?
We got a great project going on Prairie Avenue. This is the one coordinated with all the work that District 65 is doing for Haven and Kingsley schools, arrival dismissal areas. And so the school district and the city engineers have been great at coordinating this project. And so it'll be a really nice improvement to the whole school campus.
Well, I have total confidence in
Yeah.
our city engineers. I was concerned about the contractor, and I am going to vote for this time, even though they are going to be in my ward. So all those in favor of A-Lamp for this job, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, contract for Chicagoland paving for Davis Street Improvement Project. This is in the amount of $2,299,905.65.
Approval. Second.
Any discussion? I'm sure that Alderman Fisk would like to discuss this. Do we know where she is?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Any comments? Anybody? Everybody? This is the big
Let's get
one.
it done.
Okay, all right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, approval of the Bridge project construction funding increase, little increase here, $86,000, increase from the state and increase from the city, making up that amount.
Second.
Yes,
Question.
Alderman Grover.
Wondered, Director Robinson, was this a surprise to us that a contractor would come in bid so much higher than our engineers' expectations?
Yeah, I think we were a little
Yeah.
stunned that historically, we have actually been, the engineer's estimate, we've been under. But this is, with it being a structure, we think that's probably adjusted for the cost. That's why we were off slightly.
Well, usually our estimates are over what the bids are.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes, yes, usually
But
we
this
don't
is
have
an
an
IDOT
increase.
bidding
This is
project,
IDOT
and
bidding
it's pretty
process,
specialized,
yes.
Yeah.
So,
It's altogether 20, but it does need to be done, and let's give some thought to how we rename the bridge once it's done, instead of Bridge Street Bridge. Just an
well, then we
idea.
have to rename the street, right? You're gonna
Yes,
rename the street?
Robinson is a good name.
The Robinson Bridge?
Yes.
The
At
Robinson
Bridge Street?
I'll turn my mic off.
All right. Anything else on this? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving right along. Next, we're going to have a short report from Marty Lyons, the City of Evanston 2012 Audited Financial Report. Could I have a motion to put this on file? Okay. I've always felt that this was the most important financial document that we have, because this tells you where the money is.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Marty Lyons, Assistant City Manager. Before you tonight, you do have the 2012 calendar year comprehensive annual financial report and the report from our auditors. Joe Lightcap from Baker Tilly is here, and really, as noted in the report, we have no new comments from the auditors, but we do have our comments from previous years that have a lot to do with internal controls that the city is, with current staffing, we're not able to do very much about. I hope this is the last year that I have to say we're working on it as far as some of the issues regarding our software. Since we are halfway through the year, we're working on configuration of the new accounting and HR software. So I want to be able to report that we have addressed some of the journal entry concerns, things that are in finance and HR that we can impact. Issues with respect to some of those smaller software packages, we will continue to work on those with the departments as we try and upgrade those systems as well. I think of the CryWolf and some of the other software that's listed in there. And I would also respectfully request for Mr. Lightcap to come up, because this year you might note that we now have a booklet titled Communications to Those Charged with Governance and Management. So this really is something that is not between your treasurer and you, it's between your independent auditor and you, this communication.
You know, I'd just like to ask you one thing, Marty, and that is on the significant issue, the business of having the third party confirm. There was one entry, I'm just trying to remember not the journal entries, not that one, but the first, no, I haven't, yeah. The one where you indicated that you felt that to add a third layer to the approval process or the entry process would just be too cumbersome?
I'm trying to...
Where the manager of the department approves the expenditure, and then they wanted a third party.
Let me...
It's the significant, a material weakness, let's see, number 2.
I'm sorry,
Maybe that's the one. Maybe that's the one. There were 2 minor issues and 1 major one, and I'm talking about the major one, and I can't find it.
Yes, I think she is, but I just want to make sure I have it right.
Well, it was from
So
last year
the-
also. I'm just really concerned that,
So it is, I'm sorry, if I may.
I mean, you indicated in your response that you didn't indicate it was really a personnel issue, but that it was too cumbersome. And,
If I have the right response, so this is on the journal entries.
okay.
And the ability to prepare and initiate
That's
journal
it. I
entries
got
is
it. I got
delegated
it.
to various levels of finance employees. These entries do not post to the system until the accounting manager reviews and approves them. However, there is no review and approval of journal entries initiated and recorded by the accounting manager. An entry could be made or improperly supported without the city's knowledge. And our response is the city believes there are adequate controls in place for journal entry management. It is not common for organizations to have 3 steps in journal entry review. It is much more accepted to have entries done by one staff member and reviewed by the manager, which is our practice presently. To add another management review would be overly redundant and not cost efficient. And so that's our response. I think, though, it is important for Mr. Lightcap could come up and tell you that a town of half our size does it this way. And then I would go back and review those towns' procedures and see what we could do to emulate them.
But
So-
the concern I had was, it is being stated, they rarely point out material weaknesses. I mean, that's, not common, I don't think. And when they do, for us to just say it's too much trouble.
Well, the other thing is that Madam Chair, the change in definitions has occurred over the last 5 years. In the past, you would not have seen a material weakness, for the most part, on a report from an auditor, and their standards of review have changed, and I guess I would, again, I do not want to speak for the auditor, and would prefer them
Well,
to address
Let's have
it.
them come up. Hello.
Hello. Hi, it's Marty Metchin. My name is Joe Lightcap, and I'm a senior
Say your
manager
name
with
again.
Baker. Joe Lightcap. I'm a senior manager with Baker Tilly, your audit firm. And this weakness, when it relates to the financial statement preparation, not many municipalities in Illinois prepare their own financial statements. These financial statements are prepared solely by the Administrative Services Department. So in the compilation of the financial statements, we have routine monthly journal entries that do go through a good review process where someone besides the original preparer approves them. But when we get to financial reporting and some of those year-end adjustments that are prepared by the accounting manager, that's where our risk could possibly be, that if the accounting manager prepares and runs through a journal entry, that it may not be caught in the normal journal entry process. Now, there is significant review of the financial statements by Mr. Lyons and other members of the Accounting Services Department, but we want to let council know that there is that risk as far as, what we've seen through our procedures.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Alderman Grover.
Either for Mr. Lyons or Mr. Lightcap, would implementation of the New World software system this year, rolling that out, would help us address the significant deficiency identified in information technology, and how do you think that will address it? Mostly in the way of, it seemed as if passwords and password systems and
Committee person Grover. No, it will not for the most part, because in looking at it, most of it has to do with password security on these other systems. So we're really taking to task the finance and HR systems. And I've had this disagreement with every auditing firm that I've ever been involved with. But auditors are here to talk to you about a variety of systems. So in this regard, the Cry Wolf system is not a finance software system, but it is part of our inspections process. It is a part of our systems. But over the years, auditors have expanded their scope in their duty to you. So this will not, the changing into the new world will not address the passwords for those smaller ancillary systems. And I do want to go back to, I appreciate the way that Mr. Lightcap presented that information. We will change our response as far as auditing entries, meaning those that are prepared for the preparation of the final CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Those are entries that are done after the close of the year. We will make that change such that those procedures are following the same process that are used during the year, because that's what I believe what Joe just pointed out was, in some cases, the accounting manager says, I'm going to do the final closing entry for one of our funds. It's not a routine payment of a bill or payroll or anything, and so we will make sure that those are also reviewed, so the initiator is not the initiator of a journal entry has it reviewed by someone specifically. So that we can make that change. And that doesn't require any additional staff.
Even with that, it may still bubble up next year as a significant deficiency, because otherwise there are just the intractable kind of systemic things that we can't get to.
Well, as far as journal entries go, if you have someone approving them that is not the initial preparer, and you don't have a way for entries to go unnoticed, let's say, so if every journal entry requires an approval before it can be posted by someone separate from the process, then the weakness would go away.
And one final comment on that and on our total approval process. The current system, we use a variety of both electronic and paper approval processes. So the chief of police may sign off on his purchase of ammunition on a physical invoice. We'll be going to a system where everything will be signed off electronically, so that it's going to have both a budget check and is there an invoice attached, all at the same time, to the point of the journal entry setup. It will also lend the ability for me to be involved a little bit more, where a senior accountant prepares a journal entry, the accounting manager reviews, and I can also be in the chain of command, because it will happen via either the system itself or an email. I will get an email. Would you like to approve the standard journal entries for the month of June? And so I will be on record as having approved those journal entries, and we can actually get to a 3-level review. I do not favor normally the review of people clicking and saying, I've reviewed them, when I haven't. So we will be very circumspect on the initiation of that process.
Is a credit card bill, for example, the May credit card bill, is that one journal entry, or is it 18 pages of journal entries?
The latter. So you end up with all of those different charges due post to every account, but then when we go to pay the bill, it goes to a liability account, $100,000 against cash, $100,000 against this liability account, and then we distribute it to all of the funds.
Don't see any more lights. Anything else you'd like to enlighten us with?
Well, as far as those two internal controls, I think we've covered those. If you would like, I could talk a little bit about the financial statements and the rest of this report.
And the quality of the work of our staff.
Yes,
Yes,
definitely.
tell us about that.
I have that written down. That's in here.
Excellent, yeah.
Okay. You open this, make sure I get everything. So the two reports, the one we just talked about, the communication, those charged with governance and management, and we also have the audited financial statements, the one with the City of Evanston cover. We'll talk about the financial statements briefly first. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me at any time. I'm just going to go over kind of briefly some highlights as far as what's in the report. The first thing I wanted to highlight is our opinion, and that's starts on page 15. It's behind the financial section tab that's hidden behind the introductory section tab. So these are the 3 pages that come from Baker Tilly. As I mentioned before, Administrative Services, they're responsible for the production of the rest of the CAFR, which is unique to municipalities in Illinois. The opinion this year is what's called an unmodified opinion. It's a little bit different terminology than what you may have heard in the past. We used to say unqualified opinion, but auditing standards have changed with newly implemented clarity standards, so it's now unmodified. It's both, it's a clean opinion, and what you've received in the past. You can see that there are different headers on the opinion for the different sections. And then one thing I wanted to highlight on page 16, the second page of the opinion, is the emphasis of matter. What this section will always show you is what new accounting standards were implemented during the year. For GASB 63 this year, this was a minor impact. It did have some change in terminology. What once was net assets is now net position, and what was once invested in capital assets, net of related debt, is now net investment in capital assets. So if you're thumbing through the CAFR and you see these new terminology, I just wanted to point out, what they used to be. There's more in the back of the communication to council and management. There's a separate section on GASB 63 and what it meant that you can read if you're more interested. So that is our opinion, the 3 pages that come from us. And then once again, the city has prepared financial statements to comply with the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. So what that means is this document is much more robust than what is required by accounting standards. So there's more good information in here for your in your decision-making process that you can come back to. A lot of historical information, trend information that's useful. From a high level what happened during the year, I would direct you to the MD&A tab. So it's the management's discussion and analysis. If you're going to read any part of this document, this is where I would direct you. What this does is this provides an analysis by management on what happened during the year and why. So it on page 18, some of the financial highlights, high level what happened. On page 21 and 22, this talks about the financial analysis of the city as a whole. This discusses the entire government, including capital assets, long-term debt, what happened and kind of some of the reasons why. And then on page 23 and 24, this breaks down at more of the fund level, which you're more used to seeing on a periodic basis during the fiscal year. This talks about the individual funds and what happened and why accounts went up, and then also budgetary highlights for the general fund. And one, I guess, word of caution, per se, is that this is the second year that the city has had a December 31st fiscal year end, as you know. So comparative sake, we're talking 12 months for 2012 and 10 months for 2011. So next year it'll be a little more comparable, but there are mentions in here where it talks about that comparability and what it would be on a prorated basis. So that's a very good document for your review if you haven't read so already. That's all I really have with the CAFR. If there's any questions, we can definitely take those now.
Thank you so much. I know that in talking to other auditors, they've always mentioned that our staff provides them with a great basis from which to do the audit.
Definitely. I mean, the sole fact that they prepared this document, this 200-page document, and one of the things I'd also like to mention, while Marty mentioned that there were no new comments in the management letter, there was one taken away. And last year we had a material weakness for financial reporting for a material adjustment that we had found. During our audit procedures this year, we did not find any material adjustments to the credit of the review process
So
in the
that was
Administrative Services
corrected.
Department. It's very good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
And thanks to our staff. All right, what I need is a motion to put this on file. I think we do, yeah. All right. All those in favor of filing this report, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay. Thank you very much. Next, we have a resolution regarding Northwestern University utility easement on Emerson Street. Our staff is recommending an easement for chill water service and a 50-year period with a $220 annual fee. Hello? No. Thank you. Second? All right. Are we going to discuss this? Any comments? I just want to make sure that they restore the street. I mean, we've got all these utility easements all over town with, like, informal speed humps that are created, you know what I mean? Staff, yes, are they gonna, I know
Yes,
the
we
water
will.
people aren't here, but.
Yeah, we will make, well, in this case, this is actually us. We'll make sure they do a good job.
The restoration on these jobs is just terrible, not Northwestern specifically, but all the utilities, I think. All right, all those in favor of recommending this to the council?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, sale of surplus vehicles and equipment. Staff's recommending that we submit certain vehicles that are no longer in use to sell through public auction. Second? Second. Okay. Is the chief here? Or, okay. Lonnie, is the paddy wagon, or the SUV, the RV, the police RV in this group, I couldn't identify, several police vehicles, but I couldn't tell if the camper is in here. It is, okay. I would like to amend this to exclude that for the time being. There may be a local purchaser for that, just saying, there might be. Can we do that? Can we pull that out? Just,
I'm just not sure. Doesn't this go to that auction thing that our members
yes,
are?
yes, but.
So what difference?
Well, because then a local user could, the chances of them winning at the auction, I'm just asking that
Oh,
we just
okay,
amend
okay.
this to remove it for the time being. And we can put it back on next time if there's no interest.
So
Yes,
someone
we
wants to
can.
purchase it. Okay.
And yes, we can.
Yes, okay. So I would like to, because it was not identified as the camper, you know. That was the
Madam Chair,
original
this is-
mobile outpost, remember? You know what I'm
you're talking about.
Yeah.
So this is item vehicle number 38, the
38.
Ford E450 from 1999.
Okay, does anybody object to that? No. All right. With that amendment, all those in favor of recommending this to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty. Moving right along. Authorizing the 2013 general obligation bond issue, not to exceed amount totaling $12,700,000.
Second.
That should note that the scheduled sale date is July 31st, or, July
Yeah.
31st. All right.
And
I'm sorry, Alderman Burris, you were abstaining from the water utility?
Well, yes, I did abstain from that, but I also want to ask Marty about,
Okay.
actually, I don't want to, I want you to talk about it, the bonds. One of my favorite subjects.
Keep in mind, if you want your streets paved, you got to support. Just,
No, I just, we have it in our packet, but I would like for you to actually just talk about what we've, the debt we've paid off this year, and that we're still under our cap of 113, we're at 111, 500, so can you just talk a little bit about what is in the report?
Good evening again, Alderman Burris.
Thank you.
Marty Lyons, Assistant City Manager. Yes, as noted before you is the 2013 GO bond issue. I did get a few questions today from Alderman regarding the bonds. As noted on page 190 of the packet, the issue this year is for $12.7 million. We do round a little bit to make it easy on the marketplace so that they understand it's, how much is out there. They provide us with a bid that could be a little higher or lower based on premiums and discounts. But all that being said, what we're looking at is a $10.4 million issue for unabated debt. That means that we're going to issue bonds where $10.4 million will be repaid from the general property tax levy. Of that $10.4 million, $8.4 million is for roadway, streets, facilities, general capital improvements that are not being paid from another source such as tax increment financing, water, sewer, or parking funds. Then you still have $2.3 $3 million, and of the $2.3 million, $2 million is for the water fund, which would be abated and paid for out of water revenues, and $300,000, it's actually not the whole $300,000, it's $236,000 is coming from the Special Assessments Fund. So sprinkled among those three areas is $64,000 in issuance costs. So we would issue $12.7 million to be able to spend $12,636,000. As I noted by Alderman Burris, we still are under our cap of $113 million. I know that causes some stress on my part, on the parts of Evanston taxpayers. When Moody's analyzed our bond rating recently, and we were downgraded from AAA to AA1, it was not because of our general obligation debt load. They used the term moderate debt load, slightly above average, but certainly sustainable was the Moody's characterization of our debt. It was had totally to do with their changing of the police and fire pension debt burden. So they've changed their analytical tools, and we will see that coming down the road as well. Maybe I'm meeting with Fitch Rating Services on Wednesday. They have not communicated any kind of a change in ratings philosophy or analytics, but it is coming because the Governmental Accounting Standards Board is coming out with changes that will affect our 2014 financials. So the audit 2 years from today's date, we will have changes in how we have to present pensions. So we will continue on with that. I hope I answered some of the questions.
And, I was glad to see about the debt refinancing, and could you just talk a little bit about what you plan to do in October? I think that's good for people to know that you're being proactive about reducing about a $700,000 savings. So if you can talk a little bit about that, would be great.
On page 192. Thank you. Later this year, we have 2004 and 2005 bonds that will become eligible for refinancing. Usually, if we issue in 04, then the bonds that mature longer than 10 years out or thereabouts are eligible to be called back. So the bonds that we issued in 04 and 05 are eligible to be called back, and we issued those at closer to an average interest rate of 5%, and we should be able to reissue. Remember, we'll only be issuing the highest interest bonds at the lowest interest. So we're hoping that our initial savings will be at the reference $700,000. But depending on how we structure this refinancing, we will be looking at, it's $30 million in bonds approximately, but we may be able to issue much less in total debt to cover those bonds, meaning that bond buyers may be willing to pay us a premium so we can actually reduce our debt burden, even if we then pay 4% or 4.5% instead of 3.5%, we will literally have less bonds outstanding. So it'll be up to the council, and we'll be bringing that back early in the fall to say, here's two scenarios. Lower our interest rate, keep our debt at the same level, lower our debt with a slightly higher interest rate because investors will pay a premium for that higher interest rate and literally buy more bonds. I'm sorry, not buy less bonds because they're earning a higher interest rate. I will have a very straightforward table that just says, here's what an average interest rate at 27 million looks like, and here's what it looks like at 30 million.
And add a little column showing the 0.15% increase in our costs because of the drop in the rating, which is minimal, really. I mean, I'm not concerned.
And it is that we're very fortunate that rates are as low as they are because the spread is low as well. And one unfortunate thing is we would have considered buying insurance. And
I was just going to ask you, do they still have insurance?
No, they do not.
They don't.
The folks who did the insurance are part of the 2008 house cleaning.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get those insurance
Didn't
policies.
some of them go to jail? I mean,
I cannot comment on that.
because we used
Madam
to
Chair.
buy insurance on bond interest rates to insure against increase. I mean, it cost a little extra to purchase it, tacked on to the cost of the bonds, but we did buy it several times.
Once we got to our AAA, we didn't have to buy the insurance anymore. You might buy it for a revenue bond that was AAA, and you wanted to insure that bond up to a GO AAA. So you'd buy the insurance, and all that does is give that bond buyer that feeling of insurance that they're willing to accept less interest because it's such a sure bet. They know they'll get their principal back. Thank you very much, Alderman Burris, for the comments. I appreciate it.
I think that does it, right? So we have a motion to approve the bond sale this year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We might have a unanimous vote for you this year. We have an item for discussion, and that is bus service transit routes. The person who's proposing that we have this discussion is not here, right? Alderman Fisk was proposing this. Anybody have any comments on this? Okay.
No, we're.
Madam Chair, if I may, then I would respectfully request that we defer it to a future meeting.
To our next meeting, yes. So,
we will put it on the agenda.
all right, please put it on the agenda for our next Administration Public Works meeting.
So that will be on the 22nd.
Yes, that will be on the 22nd. All right, there's a motion to adjourn. Thank you. All right, we're adjourned. The P&D meeting will start at 7:15 on the dot.